Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hello there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today. Just getting everything aligned here on social media so that everyone can catch up with the show. Welcome. Again, I'm Ray Flowers of FG. You can find me here most of the time, 4 days a week, but with Justin Fenceman out with the birth of his child. I was here 5 days last week. I'm here 5 days this week. I'll probably be here 5 days next week. So you get a bunch of Ray Flowers here on the show. 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we start Fantasy Sports Daily, Monday through Friday. We go about an hour. Sometimes 55 minutes, sometimes an hour and 5 minutes. We go about an hour each day. And generally speaking, we talk baseball the first half hour like we're going to do today, and football the second half hour like we're going to do today. You can find me on social medias at The Ray Flowers. So just whatever social media you're on, type in at The Ray Flowers. You can probably find me. You can find me all day over at FantasyGuru.com, answering questions in Discord. Football questions, baseball questions, all that kind of stuff. Today, because of the small slate for DFS, I'll be doing another Rays Ramblings piece, as I did yesterday. I'll also be doing some wagering later on today, so look forward for that information over at FantasyGuru.com. In terms of this show, well, let's throw it up on the screen. We got a whole plan. By the way, don't forget that this show, again, is 12 to 1 Monday through Friday. From 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, is the Elite Sports Show with Jeff Mans. Now, that's over on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. But the hope is, listen to this show, maybe have a lunch break, early morning break, something like that if you're on the West Coast. And then you go and listen to Jeff's show, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm with Jeff on Wednesdays. We're going to talk about Noelvi, Marte, and Tyler Stephenson, a couple of Reds. Then we're going to talk about Kyle Tucker. What the hell is going on with Kyle Tucker? We'll talk about that. I mentioned Colby Thomas. What are the Athletics doing? Strange situation going on there. Luis Rengifo is hot. Wyatt Langford's changing spots in the batting order. Then we'll talk a bunch of pitching. We got an update on Bubba Chandler that we didn't really hit on yesterday, so we wanted to hit on it today. Jesus Luzardo. Good Jesus showed up yesterday, right? We all know that. Houston Waldrop, Eric Lauer, Cam Schlittler, who was flirting with history last night. Throwing a perfect game last night through 6 innings. And we'll also look at JP Sears, Jacob Misiorowski, Felix Bautista, and it's not good with Felix Bautista, as well as Pablo Lopez. Then in about 25 minutes, when we visit with Tyler Beaker to talk some football, bunch of things to talk about. A lot of storylines in the NFL, obviously popping right now. Jalen, McMillan, and Chris Godwin. What's going on with the receiving core with the Bucs, especially early in the season? Should we be nervous about Malik, Nabers, and Devaughn, Achane? They're fine, but we'll continue to talk about those guys. Zach Charbonnet, getting some positive talk out of camp about Zach Charbonnet. He's got to be the most expensive handcuff in fantasy football right now. Is he going to take over that backfield? We'll talk about that with Tyler Baker. Then a bunch of questions about about wide receivers. Isiah Bond, Ricky Pearsall, Juan, Jennings, Skyy Moore. What are the Niners doing? Devaughn, Vele, and Jarquez Hunter with the Rams. So stay tuned for that in about 25 minutes. If you don't want to wait that long, you got to get your football fix. Well, now's the time over at FG, folks. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you have any questions about the baseball product, the football product, the basketball product, the hockey product, the golf product, the NASCAR product, the college football product, the horse racing product, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Send that email to support@fantasyguru.com. So you can see there on the screen, the football product's available. It's been available forever, but let's just do it. Let's talk about it a little bit more. You get signed up now, you get access to everything we've done to this point for the preseason, and then you get it all through the regular season. So it's a full season product. You get, as you can see there on the screen, PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings, IDP rankings, dynasty rankings, best ball rankings. You get an auction guide that includes dollar figures and all that. We have a draft book, which I believe is half point PPR. We have one for Superflex. We have one for tight end premium. So we've got all of that as well. We've got an entire section. We got an entire section on best ball. Drafters is still going, folks, and they have massive overlay. It's going to be at least 25%, it looks like. So the huge best ball section by Tyler Beaker. A huge auction section by myself and Justin Fenceman. 4 different articles talking about that. We've got the rookie player profiles. We got the position battles going on right now. Coaching breakdowns, offensive line breakdown. We've got a lot of stuff over at fantasyguru.com. And you hear on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you hear the folks here on the channel that are the folks you'll be looking to get information from over at the site. We've got on Tuesdays, Armando Marsal at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. All the guests at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Armando Marsal on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, Rich Mileto. Thursdays today, Tyler Beaker. And Fridays, Russell Clay. So check that out over at FG. And for this show, I mean, you're all here, so you probably know it. But just to throw it out there, just in case, many ways to consume the product. You can view the product live, real time. You can watch us. You can watch us on demand. You can just listen as a podcast if that's what you prefer. You can go to fantasyguru.com. There's an Elite Plus tab right at the top of the page. You can click on that. It brings up all the products we have for audio. It doesn't bring up the live stream because that's different. That's Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Time where it's all football talk. But it has this show. It has Armando Marsal from Armando Marsal. It's got One Man's Opinion from Jeff Mans. It's got the Basketball Diaries from Justin Fensterman. Just click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page at fantasyguru.com. You can also type in Fantasy Sports Daily to wherever you listen to podcasts, YouTube Music, Apple Podcasts, iTunes. Is it still called iTunes? I don't know. Pandora, Spotify, just type in Fantasy Sports Daily there. And then there are 3 places where you can leave comments and questions throughout the show if you're watching live or just anytime they're cataloged. You can watch on demand later. YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork, Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, and Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite. All right, let's dive right in here. Noelvi Marte. We've talked about a lot about Noelvi Marte, some positive, some negative, because obviously there was a suspension last year. We've gone over how he's gotten to where he's at and all that kind of stuff. Let's do a quick little check-in with Marte, who, for those of you that have rostered him, you've been getting some pretty good stuff from Noelvi Marte. He's played now 38 games at third base, 22 in the outfield. Looks like he's going to be an outfielder long-term. Seems to be that's the plan for the Reds. Same time, he's going to qualify at both positions next year, which is fantastic. Infield, outfield is not easy to find. Moved up to second in the batting order last night. This is also great news for him, right? Get around Ellie De La Cruz, let's go. In his last 15 games, he's hitting .360 with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. And as we have said all along, he can really, he's a really good offensive player. It kind of got lost with all the nonsense with the suspension, all that, but it's basically a top 50 prospect in baseball last year. Some sites had him as the number 1 or number 2 prospect with the Reds, depending upon. But the fact is he's got power, he's got speed, he's got a really impressive bat as we're talking. He's flexible defensively. He's played 58 games. He's got 10 home runs and 7 steals. That's a 2020 pace. A little better than that, obviously, but it's a 2020 pace. And he's also hitting 300. And so one thing I would say to him, hey, if you're listening, Noelvi, take a walk, kid. Under 4% the last 2 years. It's 4.3% for his career. That ain't good. We've got an on-base percentage of 307 as a result for his career. Even this year with all his success, it's only 339. So take a walk, kid. But all the rest of this stuff looks pretty good. Launch angle's nice. Barrel rate's decent. His batted ball data in terms of hard hit and exit velocity, moderate. I don't think he's a 300 hitter at this point of his career. I think he's a 275 hitter. But a 275 hitter going 2020, qualifying at 2 positions. Now batting second in the order. Noelvi Marte has certainly seen things go in the positive direction. Tyler Stephenson had been missing time with the hand injury, and they finally placed him on the injured list. It's another one of these guys that teams took 4 or 5 days with, and they finally placed him on the injured list. They waited until after Fab ran on Sunday night. They waited until after the waiver wires closed on Monday morning. I have Tyler Stephenson in Tout Wars, and I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. I really, teams don't care about our fantasy leagues, but it's unfortunate how these things often play themselves out. Bottom line is Stephenson is now on the shelf. It's unclear how much time he's going to miss. We're at a point with the season. Obviously, the Reds, they're not making the playoffs. They're looking toward the future. They're well over 500. They're not going to make the playoffs. Let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, they're not going to make the playoffs. Is Stephenson going to return to action? Maybe. Maybe. I think it's very reasonable to say he's back in a month. It looks like Jose Trevino is going to be the catcher in the interim. Trevino, nice little player, but not an exciting fantasy asset. So you're going to have to go somewhere else if you've been leaning on Stephenson. Maybe you haven't anyway. If you're in a 2-catcher league, you have been. If you're in a 1-catcher league, maybe you haven't. This is useless information for you anyway. But I just wanted to point it out that, those of you like me, I feel your pain because we are screwed because of the way they handled the situation with the placement on the injured list. Okay. This is now the time for me to get angry, and not false anger, just frustration anger, I think is the best way to put it. Earlier this season, we had a situation where we learned that Jordan Alvarez was hurt, and then they found the fracture later. They didn't tell us he had a fracture. Okay. William Contreras was hurt. Information about the fracture came out later. It's not always easy. There's a lot of bones in your hand. Sometimes the imaging, if your hand, excuse me, if your hand's turned this way or that way, Okay. Excuse me, 1 second. You can miss an injury. Okay. It can happen. Same time, they're not going to the local hospital where the guy's treating pigs in the back. They're going to theoretically the best doctors in the United States, at least, right? North America. And it's frustrating for us because we're trying to speculate. Why is the guy's launch angle down? Why is he not pulling the baseball as well? Why is the batted ball data down? We talked about this with William Contreras earlier. We surmised, and it turned out to be accurate, that he was hurt. Lots of talk about Kyle Tucker, who, by the way, is returning to the starting lineup today. So he's back in the lineup for the Cubs today. We've all been trying to figure out, we even talked about it earlier this week, what the hell's going on with Kyle Tucker. Turns out, hairline fracture in his hand back in June. First, any of us know. Now, again, would this have changed anything? I would not have said, he's got a fractured hand, he's playing through, bench Kyle Tucker. I wouldn't have said that. If he'd struggled for 2 weeks and we knew this news, I might have said bench Kyle Tucker, right? I might not have said just suck it up for the last month while he stunk the whole time because he's hurt. He's back in the lineup now, and they are telling us, though, of course, they didn't tell us about the initial injury. They are telling us that he injured himself on June 1st and didn't tell us, but they're saying now that he's okay. Is he okay now? Do we believe them saying he's okay now when they didn't tell us when he was hurt? They're under no obligation, the Cubs, to tell us. I don't know the full story behind. Maybe Tucker said, I don't want anyone to know. That's, again, it just pisses me off, as I'm sure it does all you. We now have a pretty good understanding of why Kyle Tucker stopped hitting line drives. He was hurt. Takeaway, even though they didn't tell us, even though now we have to be very suspect, and this is what happens. You have to be suspect of an organization. If anyone gets hurt for the Cubs here in the next couple of weeks, you have to be suspect about the timeline they give you for the return to action. Because in this situation, they didn't even tell us for a month and a half that he was hurt. Tucker's back in the lineup today. They say he's healthy. I have Kyle Tucker. He was fantastic in the first half. He's been terrible in the second half. We talked about it earlier this week. Yeah, here's Angelo. Tucker's on our no-drop list. Just had to bench him and grab another guy. Yeah. In my league, Angelo, we have 15 teams. I can't bench Kyle Tucker. I don't have an option that's better than Kyle Tucker. And in fact, again, I don't think anyone should be benching Kyle Tucker if he's healthy. But they're saying he's healthy. He's back in the lineup today. Let's see. Frustrating. We'll return to a frustrating situation in a couple of minutes, too, when we talk some pitchers. Here's another frustrating situation. I've talked about Colby Thomas on this show. I said, look, Colby Thomas, we talked about him on Monday when Fab ran. Should we be getting in Colby Thomas business? If Denzel Clark had that setback that was significant and we turned out he had a grade 2 abductor strain, which is significant, wheels up for Colby Thomas. Well, the A's apparently don't agree. Colby Thomas, who started 4 games in a row last week, he's now on the bench today. He's not on the lineup today, and that's the 4th straight game he's been on the bench. Now, remember, Colby Thomas is one of the best prospects in the A's organization. He's a potential 2020 player. His last 18 games, he's batting .280 with an .860 OPS. He's 9 for his last 23 with 3 home runs. He's 9 for 23 with 3 home runs and 11 RBIs. So what did the A's do? They bench him 4 straight games. And they're benching him to play Carlos Cortez. Can you hear that tapping? I don't get it. Organizations do some strange things. The A's are the A's are a terrible organization. They're just terrible. And I don't know. We keep hoping that when they go to Las Vegas, everything will change. Maybe it will when they go to Arizona. Maybe it will. Excuse me, not Arizona. Vegas. When they go to Las Vegas, maybe it'll change. They'll have all this money. They'll spend money, all this kind of stuff. Maybe. But they're a terrible organization. This doesn't make any sense at all. None. 0 cents. 0. A's, you do A's. They've been in the Bay Area for years, right? I've seen this. You do you A's. Continue to screw things up. Luis Rengifo. Not screwing things up. Luis Rengifo has been a frustrating player the last couple of years. Bouts of really good work from Rengifo, periods of ineffectiveness, periods with injury. Last year, the guy hit 300 with 24 steals. Like, he was really, really good. Not only played 78 games because he was hurt, but that's a 350 steal pace. Like, that was fantastic effort last year. This year, he hasn't been anywhere near that guy. Just hasn't been. But the last 2 weeks, a little bit here. He's played 11 games the last 2 weeks. 7 RBIs, 8 runs scored in 11 games. That's really good. 273, that totally works. With a 950 OPS. Also has 2 home runs and a steal. So he's in a pretty good groove right now. And depending on league rules and everything like that, he's going to qualify at second and third. He's played both of those positions over 50 games this year. So he'll obviously maintain second and third next year. Might qualify in the outfield too. He's played outfield 5 times. Like, hey, this is a guy that can use all over the field. Little bit of power. Certainly an ability to steal a base he hasn't really shown this year, partially because of the lack of health. But again, the last 2 weeks, starting to pick things up. And he's the kind of guy at this point of the season that, maybe we can get a 275 average the rest of the way with 7 steals, right? Like, it's not sexy or exciting, but health, positional flexibility, Rengifo kind of trending in the right direction. At least there's that. You remember Tucker Shin? Yeah, this is the second year in a row. Tucker's had that shin injury last year with the Astros. Good point there, John G. He was fine. Wasn't even going to go on the injured list. He was fine when it happened. And then he missed 3 months. Oof. Wyatt Langford, just like the situation that we talked about earlier with Noelvi and Marte moving up in the batting order, Wyatt Langford is apparently the new leadoff guy. He's hit leadoff 4 times the last week. He's batting leadoff again today. I think I saw the lineup. This is really intriguing. Langford obviously is somebody that has been effective while also being disappointing, which is not easy to do, right? But he's been effective but disappointing. He's got 18 home runs, 16 steals. Last year it was 16 home runs, 19 steals. Very similar numbers. He's going to be better because he's going to get an extra month and a half here. He's going to go 20-20 this year, which is really nice. Hitting 244. Nah. He's about on pace to match the 74 RBIs, 74 runs scored. So he's been fine to this point of his career. He's been fine. Where is that extra gear? Everyone knows he has the extra gear. We haven't seen it yet. It's not crazy to say, hey, this guy, his first 2 seasons, averaged 19 home runs and 19 steals. That'd be pretty damn good. Next year, we're going to get a ton of, remember this. Remember, you heard it here first. We're going to get a ton of stories next year about Wyatt Langford going ham next year. It's going to be everywhere because, yeah. Here's Kyle M. Dear Wyatt Langford, I held you all season. Now please crush the last month. Kyle. Here, Kyle. I hope that is the case. Last 2 weeks, 950 OPS, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs, 8 runs scored in 11 games. Starting to fulfill that wish of yours, and he's batting leadoff now. So there is hope for you, Kyle, and everybody else that has Wyatt Langford. Let's talk some pitching here before we talk some football in about 10 minutes with Tyler Beaker. I mean, Jesus Luzardo's had such a fascinating career. There was a time where he was a premium prospect and he was can't miss. Then he had some success. Then he really didn't have success, and people started digging into his pitch mix, the look of his pitches, the release point, all this kind of stuff. And they started saying, well, objectively, this pitch is good, this pitch is good, this pitch is good. But when you put it all together, it's not the right mixture, right? So then he struggled, then he found it again, then he got traded. Like, he's all over the place. And we have seen the roller coaster of emotions this season with Jesus Luzardo. Yesterday was the good Jesus Luzardo. 12 strikeouts in 6 innings. What is that? Struck out 12 times in 2022. 12 batters. He struck out twice in 2022. But it's the 5th time this season that he's had at least 10 strikeouts. He's actually 7th in the majors in strikeouts this year. He's going to get 200 strikeouts this year. As up and down as he has been, as crazy and uneven as he's been, he's going to get 200 strikeouts this year. And, his last 6 starts, his whip is 0.9. Now, it's going to be fascinating to see. I have him specifically in Tout Wars, and it's going to be fascinating to see when the season is over what his actual active numbers for me look like. Because I left him in there the 2 times he got beat down and gave up 20 runs in the 2 outings. I've had him out of the lineup a couple of times where he pitched good. I'm sure you have too. There's rumors about him tipping pitches recently. Obviously, that's not an issue at the moment because he's rolling through lineups. Right now, we're starting him. He's looking at a start against the Mets in New York next time out. We're starting Jesus Luzardo. Again, last 6 outings, more than a strikeout inning, 3.5 ERA, 0.9 whip. He's in a nice groove now. Can't preclude the bomb. It's there. But again, when it's all said and done, he's going to throw 170 innings, have 200 strikeouts. Pretty impressive. Given a guy who last year had a 4.9 ERA and threw 66 innings. Bubba Chandler. We talked about Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler, and I didn't mention this yesterday, just to hit it on the head. I've talked about it in Discord, and I talked about it on the Elite Sports Show. Again, that's 2 to 5 Eastern, Monday through Friday on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio with Jeff Mans. We did talk about it yesterday on his show right at the start. If you missed it, you can always listen to any of the past shows on your Sirius XM app. Bubba Chandler's getting called up, as we talked about. I said yesterday erroneously that he's starting on Friday. He's not starting on Friday against the Rockies. He's going to pitch on Friday against the Rockies, but he's not starting for the Rockies. And I just wanted to clarify that. He's going to be used as a bulk reliever, it sounds like. And as I said on the show with Jeff yesterday, I get this. I understand this. Lots of big-time starting pitching prospects have been called to the majors to begin their careers and worked out of the bullpen. Yes, that's happened a lot of times. In this instance, I have no idea why they're doing it. The Pirates aren't winning games. The Pirates aren't going to the playoffs. Who cares? Let's get ready for 2026. I don't know why you take a guy who you left at AAA forever, who you're finally calling up to the big leagues, and you're going to tell him, you're a starting pitcher. You've always been a starting pitcher. You're going to be a starting pitcher, but now we want you to relieve. Why? Why not use him to start the game? Let him go through his routine. Let him be the normal Bubba Chandler. Pitches 2 2/3 innings, 4 1/3 innings, whatever the hell they want to let him, and then get him out of the game. Because you're going to a bullpen game regardless anyway. You're pitching an opener in front of him, and then you're letting him go his 4 innings. It's the same thing. Why not let him start the game? Why make him come mid-game? I don't get it. I don't get it. A lot of the starting pitchers that I talked about moving to the bullpen, they were throwing the 7th inning, right? They were throwing the 8th inning. They were coming in throwing 1 or 2 innings. They weren't being asked to throw 75 pitches as a bulk reliever. They weren't doing that. Apparently, that's what the Pirates are going to do. So what do we do with Chandler in the fantasy space? He's got a better opportunity for victories, theoretically, as a bulk reliever, right? Because he doesn't have to go 5 innings to get a victory. I can't add him for win hope, right? So that's the real problem is if he's a bulk reliever, are they going to let him throw 5 innings as a bulk reliever? And I say this, and I think I brought this up yesterday. If he's going 3 1/3 innings, 3 2/3 innings, he's going to have 5 strikeouts. That's great. On a ratio basis, that's great. But it's 5 strikeouts. Like if he's not going to go 5 or 6 innings, we're not going to get 7, 8, 9 strikeouts out of him. And then we talked yesterday about the control issues that he's had, and that's absolutely documented. That's been an issue. So we'll see. John's chiming in here. Kyle's chiming in here. Doug Drug Monkeys chiming. Yeah, I know. Just like the Athletics, right? Pirates, you. As I said many times, I still think it's accurate. The largest free agent contract the Pirates have ever signed was Francisco Liriano, $39 million. So Bubba Chandler is a very difficult addition right now in a traditional mixed league, especially in a points league, because you're not getting any chance to complete games or shutouts. You're not getting a chance for him to throw big innings, most likely. The control issues, does that play up or play down coming in the middle of the game? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that, right? So very tough to get excited about him if you're not in a Dynasty or Keeper League because he's not starting the games. Houston Waldrop has been terrific. Bubba Chandler could do this, but they're not. Again, you're not letting Bubba Chandler throw 6 innings out of the bullpen, I would assume. 7 strikeouts yesterday, 7 scoreless innings for Waldrop against the White Sox. Set to face the Marlins next time out. Waldrop has been terrific, and he is somebody who also has good stuff. He's somebody who also has had control issues at times, but as a big leaguer, and this is really interesting, he walked 5 guys per 9 innings in 19 starts in the minors. 5 per 9. Somehow comes up to the big leagues, and he's walked 6 guys in 4 outings. So his walk rate's gone from 5 per 9 to 2.2 per 9 in the bigs. Doesn't make any sense, but there it is. 27% strikeout rate. He can miss bats. He's got to strike out an inning. Let's look at the stuff numbers as we dive in a little bit deeper here. The stuff numbers, they say that his fastball is stupendous, and we know that 136 100 is league average. 136 is a massive, massive number. Sliders 104. It's a good number. Change up to 85, which is terrible. Cutters at 95, which is not good. And sinkers 94. So he's got 2 great pitches. Fastball slider. That's not surprising. The fastball slider were known to be his 2 main offerings. The question was about the secondary stuff. To date, it's worked. He's got a 220 batting average on balls in play, though. Yeah. He's got a 90% left on base percentage. Whoa. Right now, he's got that ERA at 0.73. Expected ERA is 2.6. xFIP is 3.1. If he regresses to that, he's still terrific. So moving down the stretch here, the only question we have with Waldrop is how many innings he's going to throw. Are they going to let him? They're just going to let him go. He's up to about 120 innings this season. Last year, he threw 93 innings. So, we're getting to the point. He's earned the opportunity to start the rest of the way for the Braves. We'll see if they allow him to do that because of workload concerns moving forward. Eric Lauer will not start this weekend as we predicted. Shane Bieber starting today. So Eric Lauer will not start this weekend. But we did not hear that he's being removed from the rotation. In fact, it sounds like they might be going 6-man with the Blue Jays here. So we'll see. Kind of sounds like Lauer's going to have his turn skip, but return to the rotation next week. We'll watch for further updates on that about how they're going to handle the pitching staff there with the Blue Jays moving forward. Cam Schlittler, who again threw 6 2/3 innings, shut up baseball last night, gave 1 hit, walked 2 batters, 8 strikeouts. Had a perfect game going to the 7th inning. Wow. He threw all fastballs. Not exactly, but yeah. 2/3 of his pitches were fastball last night. And this is the thing with Schlittler. It's why when he was promoted, we talked about him and why scouting kind of divided. Is he going to be able to stick in the rotation or end up in the bullpen? When you throw one pitch 67% of the time, no matter what the pitch is, it's, it better be a sinker, right? It better be a sinker that, gives you a 2.9 ground ball to fly ball ratio. It's not with Schlittler. It was a dominant pitch last night. He did throw it again 2/3 of the time. The velocity is overpowering at times. We saw it last night with Schlittler. He's looked really good. I mean, he's looked really good in his limited work with the Yankees. Let's see here. He's made 7 starts. He's got a strikeout an inning. His whip, though, is 1.3. That's a little elevated. The 4 walks per 9, the 10.5% walk rate. Not ideal. We were just talking about left on base percentage. Left on base percentage is 89%. That's impossible over a full season. The xFIP says his ERA. Sierra says his ERA should be right about 4. It's about 3.2 right now. So expect the ratio number in ERA to go up. Realize the whip number's already slightly above the league average. I'm not saying run away from him. You're not trading him. Most leagues won't even allow you to trade it at this point of the season anyway. Maybe they do. They do. Maybe you look into it. He's been really good. I would continue, though, to press some pause on having that ERA be as good as it's been. It should see a little bit of regression here moving forward. JP Sears allowed 1 run through 6 innings against the Giants on Wednesday. With Michael King out, it looks like Sears will stick in that rotation. Pitching in San Diego is a pretty good place to pitch. Much better than pitching in Sacramento. So JP Sears looks like he'll get his touch-and-go-ness moving forward. So he's a waiver wire option. He's set to face the Mariners next week for those people looking ahead. And then finally, a couple of news and notes here. Jacob Misiorowski was pulled at 78 pitches. Because they felt that 1 inning that he had an 11-pitch battle against Matt Shaw, threw too many pitches. So they pulled him at 78 pitches through 4 innings. Hasn't looked very good since he's come back from his leg issue. The leg issue isn't the problem. He looked dominant for a couple of innings, 3 innings yesterday, and 1 inning was terrible. And they pulled him out because the pitch count got up. So Misiorowski, who, a month ago was, now he's kind of, we're looking for a little bit more depth from him. He's set to face Arizona next, which is not an easy matchup. Felix Bautista, had surgery on his shoulder. We knew his shoulder was messed up. We started to hear a little bit of rumors that it was not good news. It is terrible news. Surgery to repair a torn rotator cuff. I think there's a labrum issue that was in there. They're basically saying that he's expected to miss 12 months. If he misses 12 months, he pitches in September next year. His career is at a crossroads. And I don't say that. His career is at a crossroads. Shoulder surgery is never easy. Multiple injuries in the shoulder is never easy. Shoulder surgery is never good. We'll keep a good thought here. But Felix Bautista, for those of you in keeper leagues, and for those of you in redraft leagues, he's donezo this year and not even draftable next season. Finally, Pablo Lopez is going to make a minor league rehab start today. We haven't heard much on Pablo Lopez, but he's looking to throw about 45 pitches over 3 innings in his return from the strain in his right shoulder. If he does that, probably needs 3 starts in the minors, including today, before we see him back in the big league level. He's pushing to return in September. Looks like that'll be the case. We'll follow his outing today with a close eye, because he obviously has been one of the better pitchers in baseball when healthy. All right, so there's our run for baseball for the day. But don't you worry, folks. You might be saying to yourself, Ray, we're tired of hearing you talk. You might be saying to yourselves, well, you want to talk some football. You might be saying, Ray, you're smart, but we want to talk to a smarter guy. Well, I can suffice all those concerns by just saying we're going to bring our next guy in there. He's got a dope beard. He gives great analysis, and he joins us every Thursday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, roughly here on the show. And it is Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com. Tyler, how are you doing today?
Good, Ray. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I will say that you always have the bigger beard than me. I always have a beard like you do too. You always have the bigger beard. I just don't like. You ever shave it down? I always keep it kind of tight because I don't like it when it gets big and bushy. But you always have the bushy-ish beard. Your thoughts on that?
It's my wife's preference. She likes a big beard. I typically in the summer go a little bit more towards your side of the tighter, cleaner look. But yeah, I'm already starting the playoff beard. We got the NFL season underway.
Right.
Go Birds.
When's the last time you were completely shaven?
Oh, so before doing stuff in the fantasy space, I was in the construction industry.
Right.
And one of my things I had to do was get fitted for a mask for myself to be able to breathe inside a confined space.
Right.
It was confined space training, basically.
Okay.
Did a lot of pipe work and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that was the last time, and that was 12 years ago.
Wow.
But prior to that, it had been probably another 5 or 6.
My uncle always had a mustache, and I remember it wasn't until I was 12 years old that I ever saw him without a mustache, and it was like, whoa, it didn't even look the same, right? It's it would be really interesting to see. Well, obviously, follow your career here and see if we can never find you without a beard. No one cares about this but me, so let's move on to football. I find it interesting. Let's talk some football. You're over at FG. By the way, how are things going at FG? What's coming down the pipe? I know you're doing the draft book, updating things. I saw you in Discord this morning answering questions. We got the live stream Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. What's coming up for you? What's on the whiteboard?
Not a lot. We are at the finish line, basically. I've got all my big projects and articles out of the way, finished. Just recently posted my players to target. Have a link for that for tiers. Players highlighted to target, to fade. And my next big thing is one final preseason DFS write-up for Friday. We're covering this weekend's slate, but this third slate of games is typically for the guys that are on the back end of the roster trying to make the final 53. So it's not really very fantasy relevant. So there's not a lot of fine tuning for the rosters and rankings as we move forward through this next week or so. So it's draft season, man. I had 2 back-to-back on Tuesday evening. I've got one Saturday. I've got one Sunday. I got one Monday. I got one Thursday. I got one, I think next weekend as well. I'm not sure. Saturday. I just signed up for it, the Elite Mafia one. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm drafting. We are at the finish line here. Time to put our pens down, and it's test time.
Yeah. All right. Making a note here. Test time. Hope you do well on your test. You a good test taker? Were you always a good test taker? You probably were, right?
I was, yeah. So my short-term memory is immaculate. I can remember anything over a 24-hour period.
Okay.
Okay. But I can't spit facts from 3 seasons ago of football stat.
Okay. That's a very useful trait for taking tests. Absolutely.
For sure,
Yeah. Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com. By the way, John G says he loves the ADP articles. We were talking about that on the, I think it was here earlier this week. Tyler did do an article, or maybe it was on Jeff Mann's show, the Elite Sports Show on Sirius XM 2 to 5, Monday through Friday. You did write an article we talked about on the show again, but just to reiterate it, you wrote an article that basically compared ADP across a variety of websites, and you found some significant differences that you noted in an article over at FG.
Yes, highlighted all those players that I thought were targets or fades based on where they were going. Again, if you're only playing on one platform, you take it or leave it for what it is, but you can at least be cognizant of where these players are going and whether or not we're hyping these players up, whether it makes sense to pursue them or whether it makes sense to punt them around if they're a value on your specific website. There's a lot of guys that were several rounds in discrepancies in terms of where they were going. Obviously, the later we went in the draft, the more that discrepancy widened, but yeah, really, really useful, helpful article. I've always gotten a lot of good praise off it, so I'm going to keep running it back every single year.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Again, every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, he hops on the channel here, gives his thoughts and answers to a bunch of stupid questions that I asked. Let's start out with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers situation. And there's a lot going on here with the Bucs. Jalen McMillan hurt himself, supposed to be okay. Then there was a little bit of concern. Now we're hearing he might miss half the season. So that escalated very quickly to a scenario where McMillan could be out for half the season, if not more. We've got Chris Godwin. It sounds like Chris Godwin is not going to be placed on the PUP list, which is a little bit of a surprise. They want to have him have the ability still to practice with the team while he's working his way back from injury. What is the now value of Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Igbokwe? I think obviously McMillan, we don't worry about him anymore at this point. But what about the other three guys? How are you viewing them for those people that still have drafts to do?
Yeah, I think that it's a really, really big notable injury with McMillan and Godwin. Let's start with McMillan, who had that neck injury. They're projecting week 9 at the earliest. I believe that's their bye week, week 9. If not, it could be up to a 12-week kind of injury. I think this is a very optimistic look for a neck injury, which could be very, very dangerous. Larger range of outcomes too for how long those players are going to be out. Godwin's ankle, I mean, he has yet to really practice. So I know they say they don't want to put him on the PUP list, but they may need to when they come down to their final 53. We'll see how that one plays out, but they want to just slowly ramp him up. I'm not expecting him to be fantasy viable until October at the earliest. But again, that's another kind of variable thing where we start to see him slowly utilized, slowly leaned into. It's just really tough to select Godwin right now in terms of a fantasy pick. I think he's probably going round 9, round 10. He continues to drop, and he'll be another player based on the news and info we get prior to your fantasy draft. He may slide even further by the time your draft unfolds. The guy that's really steaming up the boards, though, is Igbokwe, who's now like a top 60 selection in my eyes, which is, this was one of my favorite prospects coming into the NFL because I thought he was such a high floor play. He was a very, very polished prospect. He works inside, outside, the number 1 overall wide receiver prospect in the 2021 recruiting class, and he's lived up to the billing. I'm just very, very much into this player. I think we know the Bucs want to pass heavily. Last year we saw Chris Godwin in that slot role take off those first 6 weeks prior to injury. He was the number 1 fantasy scorer, tied with Jamar Chase. We saw Mike Evans on the back half of the year also put up really, really high production numbers in spurts. Evans is kind of going to be that more variable player, but we know we are getting with Mike Evans at this point. He's typically not a player I'm usually targeting, generally because he's going at that 3-4 turn. And at that 3-4 turn, I'd much rather target one of the elite quarterbacks if they're available. So that's just kind of a structural thing that Evans is a fade for me. Mm-hmm. So I want to invest in this offense, though, because I still expect them to be top 10 in pass rate. They did lose Liam Cohen, but their new offensive coordinator was last year's pass game coordinator. So I expect a lot of those traits and tendencies to carry over. So Igbokwe's my guy I'm putting my chips on. He might be a guy that starts hot. He might be a guy that usually we want to select our rookies for the second half. Historically, rookies do far better over the second half of the season than the first half. They're still getting used to the NFL. They're getting used to a lot of things. This is one of those guys that I expect to be, because I said he was so polished, he's so ready to go. I linked a press conference thing where they were talking about multiple players were talking about their views on Igbokwe, and they all just kept talking about how he's so professional already. It just screams like, yes, click this man. He's the player that I want to leave all my drafts with. He's currently going around 6. I don't even mind spending a round 5 pick on him. I'm grabbing him over some established veterans just because I think there's the room for growth. That's kind of where we are with the Bucs. The other guys I think are just kind of too thin, like the wide receiver 4 or 5s, the Tez Johnsons, and who's the other guy out of Nebraska, Trey Palmer. You just can't really go that route and redraft.
Tyler, looking at Baker, you mentioned there's changes, Cohen's gone, but there still should be some carryover, as you referenced there. In the case of Baker Mayfield, I mean, he threw 4 more passes than the previous year, so virtually identical volume-wise. He added 13 touchdowns. He added 6 interceptions, and he had a 71% completion percentage. He can't complete 71% of his passes again. Like that would be outstanding and unexpected. Where does he settle? Because, 4,500 yards and 41 touchdowns is massively different than 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns. Where does he end up? Kind of in the middle this year?
I believe so. I think he's going to be drafted off of last year's performance, probably a bit too aggressively in most fantasy leagues, but regression's going to hit. This guy has not been that player that is among the league leaders in pacing it in touchdown passing rate. So last year I view it as a massive anomaly. I expect the yards to go down, the touchdowns to go down, and like the completion percentage also. Just across the board. We can also throw in losing their left tackle for a good chunk of the year is also not going to be helpful for that. So I think he's a guy that is probably being drafted at a ceiling. I think he's probably more in line as like a QB 12 through 15 option.
Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com. Tyler, I've talked about Malik Nabers with all you guys, basically. And I think the general consensus is, yeah, there's issues here, bumps and bruises, who cares? Yeah, Russell Wilson starting, we don't know how the quarterback is going to play, who cares? The questions still keep coming up with Malik Nabers, though. I think the users a little bit concerned spending a first-round pick on Nabers. Back issue, toe issue, quarterback issue. You okay spending that first-round pick still on Malik Nabers?
I don't agree with the quarterback issue. I consider this a quarterback upgrade given what we saw last year in New York. So I'm throwing that one out the window. I'm throwing the toe injury out the window, too. This is something he's dealt with dating back to his LSU days. And I just kind of don't care. I love Nabers. I agree with Drug Monkey, who's over there on YouTube. I 1000% agree. I think Nabers is the man. I think he's going to be a top 3 dynasty asset sooner rather than later. I think it's basically him, Jefferson, and then Nabers. Chase, Jefferson, Nabers is the top 3 wideouts that I view for dynasty. Nabers does it all. He does it all very well, and he did it all very well last year in an offense that was struggling immensely. I'm expecting these quarterbacks to provide some stability. We're going to see some better deep ball passing. Daniel Jones can't throw the deep ball that well with Russell Wilson under center. And then whenever we get Jackson Dart, it's just going to be a completely different offense. We got to make sure that's very clear. The offense that Russ runs will be very, very different than what Dart runs. But I still think the main focus of this offense has to be get the ball in Nabers' hands. So I'm still aggressive targeting him in round 1. We're just getting a bit of a discount now. He's no longer middle round 1. He's usually late round 1.
Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com. Devaughn Achane, I think it's fair to say, look, he's not 230 pounds. There's concerns about him touching the ball 20 times a week. Okay. We've seen that. He's missed some games with injury. He's also been explosive and dynamic on a per touch basis. He's got a calf issue right now. He's not practicing. They're saying all the right things in Miami, right? It's preventative. We're just taking it easy. It doesn't matter right now. Okay. What are you doing here? Have we lowered him at all in the rankings? Is it now even more imperative to get Jalen right than ever before? Is Ollie Gordon a thing? His name comes up in Discord all the time. Should we be drafting Ollie Gordon? Talk us through the backfield right now and what you see with the Dolphins.
Yeah, Achane exited week 2's preseason game with that calf injury. I say just bubble wrap him because calf injuries are supposed to usually take like a couple weeks, less than a month. So 2 to 3 weeks? That's basically from week 2 preseason game. 2 to 3 weeks leads us right up to the start of the season. So we're really pressing here, right up against the timeline. If they are to rush him back, I think usually players tend to overcompensate with a calf injury, leads to Achilles injuries, which I know there's a lot of NBA players that have had that injury where it started with a calf and then it led to something with their Achilles. But I'm still of the belief that this guy can win you fantasy league, so I'm still aggressively drafting him. I've seen him go mostly middle round 2 right now, ever since we've got this injury update. But I'm still fine getting him at the 1-2 turn. Head coach Mike McDaniel isn't worried about it. I'm not worried about it. Jalen Wright is having a terrible preseason. I think we can, if you are concerned, we can talk about his backups. I just think Wright has been just absolutely trash. Ollie Gordon, on the other hand, has looked fantastic. This guy is a round 6 pick out of Oklahoma State. 2023, he was the Doak Walker Award winner for best running back. 2,000 plus yards from scrimmage that year, 22 total rushing touchdowns, and he's been running with the ones ever since Achane has gone down due to injury. This team is well known for the red zone troubles, so I think at the very worst case scenario, there's a chance that Ollie Gordon comes in and operates as like a short yardage specialist, a red zone threat. Best case, he's a handcuff. Even better case, he's taken over for Achane at a chance where that Achane's going to be a healthy, he'll be an injured scratch, and then you can just plug Gordon into your lineups. The line is still a massive red flag, yes. But I think I haven't seen anything from Wright aside from just him being the guy ahead of, like, the guy that was already there, the incumbent. Mm-hmm. That's not enough for me to say that you're better than Ollie Gordon, who had a bad down 2024 season. But when I look at 2023, that type of potential and that potential ceiling, I'm much more interested in spending a pick on him where Wright is free at the end of drafts. I'm sorry, Gordon is free at the end of drafts. Nobody's selecting him. I've been sprinkling him into my best ball drafts a bit more, but even for a redraft league, especially if you get Achane, I don't mind that handcuffing situation.
So you would, just to put a bow on it, you would prefer
Sure.
Gordon over Wright. That's what you're basically saying, right? If you're doing the handcuff thing.
Yeah, with the with the caveat of I'm comfortable throwing this back into the waivers after a week or two if I realize Gordon wasn't it.
Right.
But that's fine. It's your last selection. These are guys you should be taking swings on, especially in the event that Achane is to miss week 1 or something like that. So I'm still drafting Achane because, again, this guy, year 1, set the highest yards per carry mark ever for a running back in the NFL history. Yep. Year 2, he was averaging 6.1 receptions per game in healthy games with Tua. Receptions, not targets. 6.1 receptions per game. If we can add that elite efficiency from the year 1 with the pass catching work from year 2, with the talk of them wanting to increase the snaps that we're getting here for year 3, yeah, I'm still buying. I know that people want to build a strong foundation in the opening rounds, but I'm much more open to the volatility because I want to win first place.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Zach Charbonnet is the handcuff to Kenneth Walker. All the news out of Seattle is that, Kenneth Walker's going to be fine for week 1. He's been beat up. He's been beat up in the past. Everyone loves Zach Charbonnet. Kubiak loves Charbonnet. Beat reporters love Charbonnet. Charbonnet. He's going up draft boards. Jeff Mans was talking about how he went for like $9 or $10 in his auction draft the other day. We're still big Kenneth Walker folks over at fantasyguru.com. We said all along handcuff okay. But it does get difficult. And I've had this question brought up to me. If you're taking a running back in round 3 and you're taking his handcuff in round 12, cool. You're taking a running back in round 3. Now you got to take the handcuff in round 6 or 7. What are you doing with the backfield of Seattle?
I'm drawing the line at round 9. That'd be the earliest I'd take Charbonnet because, again, I still expect this to be Kenneth Walker's backfield. These days, very few backs have the 90-10 splits where one back's getting that much of a workload, but the praise out of Charbonnet, I think it went wild this past 24 hours because of an ESPN article, if I'm not mistaken, claiming that he's getting it, quote unquote. He's cerebrally smart. He's good. He's not a rookie. He should be getting the playbook. He should be understanding stuff. It'd be more of a red flag if he wasn't. And keep in mind, Kenneth Walker's been sidelined for a good portion here. He's been the guy that's been bubble wrapped for that foot injury. They're just trying to keep him safe. It's a precaution. It's more of a precautionary thing. And it's allowed Charbonnet to take advantage of those reps with the ones. It's allowed him to get that film, those opportunities to impress the coaching staff. I'm still drafting Walker very high. I'm still drafting Charbonnet as a handcuff, but I don't see him stealing the job without injury. I do want to note as well that last year, among all backs with 100-plus carries, Charbonnet was dead last in yards per carry on zone runs. And we know this scheme wants to do a shift towards more outside zone runs, where that's like Ken Walker's bread and butter. Let him do that. Hopefully he hits the home runs more often than not. Charbonnet is just a different style of back. So I don't see him being a 1-for-1 replacement. I see him being more of like a change kind of in backfield tendency and rushing schemes. And we've seen some backs be able to overcome schemes, some backs not. I'm still curious to see how this plays out with this wide zone scheme here in Seattle, but I just have to throw the brakes once we get to round 9, because I think right now most sites, home league wise, he's going about round 10 or later. So if you get Walker, I said pencil him in for round 9 so that you get him a round earlier, because people are aggressively targeting him, whether they have Walker or not. So I would still just be cognizant of where he's going on your specific draft platform, and just be ready for if you delay this for some reason, maybe you're debating him versus a quarterback or him versus a wide receiver, go get Charbonnet because he may not be there in the round you're expecting him to be.
Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com joins us every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Put on your dynasty hat for a second here, Tyler. Let's remove our discussion from season long go dynasty. Isaiah Bond signed with the Browns. Now the Browns are all over the place. Quarterback's uncertain, backfield's uncertain, receiving core is uncertain. This is an offense in flux. Signed a 3-year deal, $3 million guaranteed, all that kind of stuff. Who is Isaiah Bond? Like, what skills does he have? And if you're in a dynasty league, is he a stash? Is he somebody that you'd put on a practice squad if you could? Something like that?
Yeah, he's a smaller-bodied wideout from Texas. We saw last year that it was really him and Matthew Golden as the speedsters. Was looking forward to the NFL Combine to see which one of those guys ran faster. Bond did not perform very well at all. He was actually really one of the bigger disappointments from the NFL Combine. Golden, on the other hand, crushed it, which, the stats, like, what was it, 4.29? It's been just widely reported that he's just had a fantastic NFL Combine. Bond, for me, is more of like just a one-trick pony that's not good at football. I'm not interested. I think the Browns have far better players to invest in. And then we also have question marks with the long-term environment and situation over there in Cleveland, where and I don't want to spend the back end of my rosters on these types of players. Throw in the fact that he's an UDFA, he's got an uphill battle to climb.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Let's move back to this year. Because I got a bunch of Isaiah Bond questions. You probably did too. Just wanted to address it.
Yeah. Not interested.
Yeah, that's fine. That's kind of what I assumed. But the Niners situation, I mean, Brandon Ayuk is going to be ready for week 1. Then he's not going to be ready for week 1. Then he's going to be on the PUP list. Now it's week 6. It's week 10. We don't know when Brandon Ayuk is going to be back. Juan Jennings has had multiple issues physically he's dealt with. He wants a new contract. You got Demarcus Robinson's going to miss the first 3 games for suspension. Jacob Cowing, got hurt the other day. He seems to be okay, but Niners receiving corps is a mess. It's kind of Ricky Pearsall and Juwan Jennings if Jennings is healthy, and he's got a good chance to play in week 1. But how is this going to play out? Are you all in Ricky Pearsall? Is it close between Juwan Jennings? Jeff and I talked about this on the Elite Sports Show yesterday on Sirius XM. We kind of went back and forth and kind of basically came up to the point, well, look, whoever's cheaper is kind of who we're going with. I don't know if that's really a good answer. How do you see it?
Yeah, you can also throw in Jordan Watkins, a high ankle sprain. You can throw in Russell Gage, who had just got a sprained MCL yesterday. I pulled like the full depth chart, all 11 receivers, and it's sparse, man. I'm not surprised they traded for Skyy Moore.
You can talk about that too. Yeah.
At this point, I think he's more just a camp body because they've got Ricky Pearsall is the only active dude. Who else they have behind him? Isaiah Hodgins, who had 2 catches all of last year with the Giants. They've got Junior Bergen, a round 7 rookie punt returner from the FCS. Tariq Owens, who's Terrell Owens' son. 2024 UDFA, who's never caught an NFL pass. Robbie Anderson, who's been with the team for 2 weeks.
You mean Robbie Chosen?
Robbie Chosen Anderson, thank you. Yeah, that name always gets me for a loop.
Right.
And now Skyy Moore. Just all caps. Yikes. That's how I feel about this team. Because those are their healthy guys. So I'm really looking forward to preseason week 3 for San Francisco because it'll be a very thin depth chart, and we know where to go at the wide receiver position. For the regular season, I've been taking at least one of these guys, Pearsall or Jennings, in any one of my drafts that I can, because this is still an offense that I want to invest in. Right. The Niners are a team that I've said all season long, these guys are just underpriced. Like, had they been of the name caliber of Debo and Ayuk, we would be drafting Pearsall and Jennings far, far higher in terms of their ADP. George Kittle's also there. I mean, we cannot forget him in terms of his pass catching skill set and ability to earn targets. Christian McCaffrey, the same for him. Yeah, man, I'm just trying to get a piece of this offense, if not 2 pieces, because I think they're all discounted and I think they're all going to outperform their average draft position. That with everybody coming off injury, I think there's only 57 or 59 total snaps this whole healthy unit from 2024 played together. All the big name hitters, like you know who I'm going to talk about. Just get a piece here. Like, it doesn't matter which part of your draft. If you go the elite tight end path, go Kittle. If you choose for quarterback over tight end in the early portion of your draft, pivot and grab one of these wideouts, because I think you should leave with at least one of them. Pearsall, round 1 pick. We saw an up and down. It's kind of a tumultuous year 1 for him, but it's like a pristine opportunity for him to come out here and be the guy. We saw it last week in the preseason. The starters for the Niners played for just a little bit, but Purdy correctly and quickly kept going to Pearsall as his guy. And then Jennings just last year, just an efficiency monster whenever he was finally out there seeing full-time snaps and reps. So I'm trying to grab whoever I can here. I agree with Silver Cheaper. That's kind of the sentiment I have. Okay. But Kittle's been the one I've been targeting and prioritizing.
Tyler, what about the situation? We had another trade. We had 2 trades yesterday, which never happened in the NFL. This one might have a little bit more interest. Skyy Moore, as you mentioned, with the Niners. Who cares? Let's talk about the Saints side of the trade here. The Saints side of the trade is they added Deshaun Vele from the Broncos. So now you've got Olave and Shaheed. Obviously, both those guys, they're the 1 and 2, but there's questions with both of them. This is another organization where we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. There's questions there too. Brandon Cooks, we all know the name, but is there much game left? Talk to us about Vele and this receiving core of the Saints before we talk about the Broncos. Vele intriguing to you at all in a redraft scenario?
Shout out to the Saints owner for the Broncos owner for fleecing the Saints owner Mickey Loomis, getting a round 4 pick for Devaughn Vele, who was an undrafted free agent just a year ago. Fantastic get. Vele last year, I'll say this. Last year, the Broncos and Shane Payton's offense, they were trying to utilize that slot as like a chain-moving role. So Vele had a lot of games where he had a lot of low ADOT targets, and he was just really trying to get some yak ability. I think he'll be the slot for New Orleans. He and Cooks will probably duke it out for that. They'll probably both split reps, and with it, with Cooks also rotating on the outside from time to time. I'm really not expecting much fantasy relevance this year because, again, it's New Orleans, and they can't even figure out the quarterback situation. It's one to avoid, frankly. Even Olave and Shaheed, they're tough clicks for me in terms of recommending, because I don't have any faith in the quarterback situation there. So Vele, even further down the totem pole, no, he's just off the redraft radar. But if he's somebody you've already had as a dynasty acquisition, I would just continue to hold and wait, and hopefully they get a better quarterback in 2025-6.
What about the situation on the other side with the Broncos? Because we know Pat Bryant's going to be Michael Thomas. He's going to have 4 or 5 years in a row catching 100 passes. We've heard that all offseason. People are obviously excited maybe now about Troy Franklin too, who obviously has the connection going back to college with Bo Nix. You've got Sutton and Mims kind of at the top of this depth chart with Vele out. Is it Bryant? Is it Franklin? Or is this great news for Evan Ingram, who might get to work out of the slot more with Vele gone?
That's what I'm kind of leaning toward. Evan Ingram has always kind of been the quiet player that I think could be the Joker in Sean Payton's scheme, where I don't know if he actually fits that role, but a few weeks ago we did hear Payton call him of that caliber. He says usually he's looking for a running back or a tight end that can fit that role, kind of a mismatch at all levels. He didn't really speak to Harvey or Dobbins in that regard, but he did talk about Evan Ingram in that role. So there's that light on where I'm leaving that one just in case it's Ingram, where he's kind of going in no man's land, like around the Kelsey, Mark Andrews range for drafts. I'd rather take the swing on the younger guy here and Evan Ingram in the hopes that he does get a lot of volume. We know last year that this team was not afraid to throw really short and just let their guys kind of work after the catch. Like Marvin Mims had a boatload of catches in these manufactured touches and stuff. Same with Vele. I'm expecting some of that to go to Ingram in 2025. So he'd be the guy that I'd really be interested in. I have zero interest in Troy Franklin. I'll be honest with you. I just think he's Tutu Atwell 2.0. I don't care about wide receivers that are under 170 pounds. I just don't see you having a legitimate role in today's NFL, or a consistent role. Maybe that's the better way to phrase it. You're never going to know when to play these players in a start-sit format. So they're just not on my board, not something I'm interested in. Maybe Pat Bryant becomes that third guy in the slot. He's a little bit of a bigger bodied guy out of Illinois. The receiving production profile was kind of up and down, but you can blame some of that on the quarterback production at Illinois as well. It's kind of where I am. Yeah, right. It's not exciting. I think
sounds like it.
The path for me is Evan Ingram, not these tertiary guys in a Bo Nix offense.
Oh, good word, tertiary. Love it. Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Angelo makes a comment going back to the Browns team. I added Chris Tillman yesterday. I'd rather take my chances on him than Trey Harris. You mentioned you got a smile on your face. Go for it.
Yeah.
What do you got to say?
I'm just imagining Joe Flacco like under center. They're going to be, all right, Joe, we got a pretty rough defense here. The run game is pretty weak. We're just going to need you to take it nice and slow. He drops back 50 times. I think David Njoku is a huge winner from that job announcement of Flacco getting the QB1 role. Tillman too. I mean, like I think he went from fantasy irrelevant to somebody that you can definitely have at the end of your bench. Because I worried like if it was going to be any other quarterback other than Flacco, all these guys would have been more just like roster cloggers and not players that you'd actually want to put into starting lineups. I'm much more excited about Njoku, Judy, Tillman, because again, I think this run game is going to be non-existent, and we're going to see Flacco flinging it 45 plus times every single game. I cannot wait for props to come out for Joe Flacco because I am just ready to hit the over on his pass attempts.
Cleveland has a bye in week 9. I'm looking at the schedule here. Is it possible that he holds on to the starting gig to the bye week? I mean, that's my concern. Is Flacco making 17 starts? Absolutely not. The question is, how many starts is he making? Because you're right. The outlook for these guys is so much better with Joe Flacco under center than not when we're talking about the pass catchers. How long do you kind of anticipate Flacco being under center? And you said, taking Chris Tillman as your last pick, go for it. As ADP starts to rise and you start thinking to yourself, well, if I'm penciling in 7 or 8 starts from Flacco, what are your thoughts?
I think you'd only ever start Tillman once we hit the bye weeks, so he's probably a short-lived asset anyway. Okay. That's a good question, though, the way you phrased that. I like that. I'm not sure whenever we'll get the quarterback swap because we saw an up-and-down performance from both guys, Gabriel and from Shedeur, these past 2 preseason games. Curious to see what happens in preseason 3. The issue is Shedor's got that oblique injury. I'm not sure he'll be playing. Dylan Gabriel, aside from the pick 6, he was actually doing really well against the Philadelphia Eagles, who they were trying to play DTR as like the revenge narrative in the preseason. I'm diving into the weeds here a little bit.
Yeah, is that a thing? Yeah.
Okay. I don't know when the swap will occur. A week 9 bye. Usually that's whenever teams like to do that because they got a full week to implement them. Yep. Maybe they do it. I don't know. Maybe they've got a soft schedule after a tough road game, and the road game's just like, okay, we saw enough from Flacco. Right. Let's try to see what we got with these other guys because they do have multiple swings there. And I did hear that they were interested in taking 4 quarterbacks on their final roster, which not many teams do.
Right. Yeah, that's very odd in this day and age in the NFL. Some teams don't even have 3 sometimes, right? Like they really push it. So Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. He joins us every Thursday here on the show. We talk football. We chop it up. You can leave comments and questions as we address today on the show if you're watching live that we can talk about as well. He's usually on the live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time over at fantasyguru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Sign up for the football product. You get access to the live stream. He's always here with us every week. He's off and on with Armando Marsal and Minder Marsal's podcast. He's around. He's always in Discord, answering questions, writing articles. Finally, before we let you go, talk to us a little bit more about the best ball. Drafters is going to have a ton of overlay. Jeff Manns, I think yesterday was saying like 25%. Like it's a big number. I know you've got articles about best ball over at fantasyguru.com. You have articles specifically about the drafters contest at fantasyguru.com. Talk to us a little bit more about that before we cut out.
Yeah, they are at exactly 50% filled as of now. And this thing kicks off in, I believe, 14 days. So it's going to be overlay galore. What basically that means is there are fewer spots for you to climb in order to get into the green in terms of having a cashing team. I believe it's the top 23,000 squads will get their money back, or it's $35 after a $20 entry fee. But we're at 70,000 filled right now, and you only need to get to the top 23,000. That's nothing. That's a well-structured GPP. I'll say that. But yeah, we got tons of stuff over there on Fantasy Guru in terms of rankings to utilize. I just updated them this morning, published them over there. I'm going to continue to update them every single day, but I don't envision we'll be getting much aside from some depth chart little maneuvers here and there, because week 3 preseason, again, usually the starters don't play, so I'm not expecting a lot of huge philosophical changes in terms of where to move a player up and down in a gargantuan move. We've got draft tactics, roster construction advice, stacking advice, all kinds of things. You can also check out our training camp video where I go in depth on this specific contest for an hour, talking about different strategies and different draft tactics to utilize to try to help get yourself in the best position to win. First place is $500,000. It's not as much as some of the other contests, but it's very, very simple. It's just weeks 1 through 17, most points scored. So get in there. There's going to be a ton of overlay. I'm going to be drafting a few tonight because there's so much darn overlay.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Sorry to make you talk about it, Tyler. I know you'd rather win, but hey, we're trying to provide a service for the customers too, and have them utilize your great work over at the site. Thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again in a week. Have a good weekend, all that kind of good stuff, and continue to let that beard flow.
You as well. Good luck to everyone on your upcoming fantasy drafts. Hope you guys kick some butt.
He's Tyler Beaker. I'm Ray Farris. Again, he's on with us about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. Tomorrow on the show, it'll be Friday. We'll talk to Russell Clay at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. Half hour football, half hour baseball. That's usually how we roll here on Fantasy Sports Daily. He's Tyler. I'm Ray. Have a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow on Friday. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.